The Old Man, Chapter 10. Mike, James, Charlie, and Winifred just sat there for a moment. The sounds were still blasting over the speakers, and things still seemed to be happening throughout the ride. They just didn't seem to be progressing. What's happening? James asked. Mike, what happens now? Charlie added. Mike was quiet a moment as he nervously looked about. Hey! Winifred shouted. I don't know, he finally replied. This didn't happen last time. Maybe the ride is stuck, James suggested. What do we do now? Charlie asked. Should we just sit here? Maybe? From Mike. Winifred looked around and sighed. Where are the actors? James frowned. Maybe we should just look for an exit. Hello? Mike called behind them. Anyone there? Hey, cemetery people! We're stuck! Someone help us out here! After several more minutes, everyone turned to Mike. What now? James asked. We're near the end, he replied. There were a few more rooms. Are there any other actors? Charlie asked. Yeah, he replied. Then why haven't they come looking for us? Winifred accused. Why would they? Mike asked. We're not in their room. She's right, though, Charlie chimed in. The ride has a schedule. We've been here for about 10 minutes. Surely they should have come to check why we haven't shown up yet. Man, the one time we need creepy Mr. Powers to follow us, and he's nowhere to be found, Winifred huffed. Who? From James. The last guy we saw. We think it's a man named Mr. Powers, Charlie explained. He's been following us around since yesterday. Freaky, Mike stated. He unbuckled himself and hopped out of the car. What are you doing? James cried out. We're not supposed to do that. Well, we can't just sit here, he spat back. Let's just work our way through the ride, or to an emergency exit. It's too hot to just wait in here. I'm sweating like a pig. I'm thirsty, Winifred whined. James was next to unbuckle and exit the car. Then came Charlie, and he helped Winifred from her seat belt, and then from the car. Okay, Mike began. There has to be an emergency exit somewhere. Let's look for one. Even if we don't find one ourselves, maybe one of the actors will help us. They'll know their way around the ride, right? We don't really have much choice, do we? James asked. Sitting here doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere, Charlie admitted. Let's do it, Winifred insisted. I'm hot and thirsty. Okay, then let's go, Mike declared. It was no sooner decided when the speakers began to make wonky noises. It was a mix of amusing and creepy in its warped projection. Then there was a loud bang, and all the lights and sound turned off. Winifred let out a scream and grabbed onto Charlie desperately. What happened? James asked. Maybe a fuse blew, Mike suggested. Now what? From Charlie. What are we supposed to do now? We can't see anything. Now we can't find the door, or an actor, or anything. Charlie, I'm scared, Winifred cried. Okay, I've got an idea, Mike shouted. Let's just work our way to the walls. Then we just follow the walls until we find a door. This darkness is disorienting, James whined. Look, it's that or nothing. Mike was getting quite irritated by this point. Winifred, you come with me, Charlie told her. Keep holding on to me, okay? Okay, she replied quietly, clearly upset at the turn of events. It was so quiet. They were so focused on trying to find the wall, an exit, or seeing anything in the blackness that conversation just seemed like too much of a distraction. It felt like a timeless abyss. There were just so many things to bump into and trip over. The only comfort was the contact Charlie and Winifred had with each other. His presence kept her from losing it completely. She was upset, but tried so hard to resist bawling. Hearing her there and feeling her grip made Charlie feel stronger. He couldn't give up. He had to make it out for her. Hey! He called into the dark. He had no idea where he was, or if they had traveled anywhere at all. Mike? James? Did you guys find anything yet? Nothing. There was no answer. He let out a grumble. Great. Do you think they made it out? Winifred asked. I don't know. They didn't call for us or anything. She sniffled as she fought the urge again. I'm sorry. This confused Charlie, and he felt around for the top of her head. For what? This isn't your fault. It is, she quietly sobbed. I made us get on this ride. It's my fault we're here. He carefully wrapped his arms about her and gave her a squeeze. It's okay, Winifred. This isn't your fault. You didn't break the ride. We're never getting out of here, she cried. Someone will fix the ride, Charlie assured. Someone has to come through here. I'm so hot and thirsty, she whined. Me too. When we get out of here, we'll get really big sundaes, okay? Lots of toppings, too. Okay, she said quietly. He reached about ahead of him as he led Winifred again through the darkness. He felt nothing on his hand, but he nearly tripped over an obstacle. What was that? Winifred cried out. Charlie examined it the best that he could. It was solid and rounded. A little more exploring, and he let out a hum. I think we made it back to the cemetery room. Hello? Winifred cried out. Ghosties? Zombies? Mr. Powers? Is anyone here? We're lost and we're stuck in here. Help us. We're hot, scared, and thirsty. There was no reply. That was disappointing. Along with the despair sinking in his stomach, Charlie was also getting rather angry. Where did everybody go? Look, we've been stuck in here for a while. Someone help us. I don't think there's anyone in here, Winifred said sadly. Charlie said nothing. He simply kept on going. It was hard. He had a hard time keeping track of the fake headstones and other props. It felt like forever before he felt a wall give way. I see some light, Winifred cheered. You found the exit. Eagerly, both pushed on the wall and nearly fell into the next room. A light flickered, and it was clearly empty. The hospital room, Charlie observed. There's nobody in here, unless they're all hiding in the shadows. Nothing. No one answered his hunch. He let out a sigh. Well, maybe we can find an exit in here. At least there's a little light. Winifred sat down on the floor as Charlie tried to maneuver about the room. He rubbed at the walls, unable to find a door. This is ridiculous, he shouted. There has to be an exit somewhere. He turned to see Winifred lying down. Winifred? I'm so thirsty, she cried. I need a drink, Charlie. My throat is so dry. I'm so hot. I'm hot and thirsty too, Winifred. We have to keep looking. I'm too hot and tired, she whined. Please, he begged. He came close and tried his best to pull her up. The next room was the circus room. We'll either find an emergency exit or we end up back at the beginning. What about the swamp? Winifred asked. There's water on both sides of the track. What if there's no light in there? We can barely see and hear. We have to try, he encouraged. She forced herself up and leaned on him as he led them into the room of Shackles the Clown. Again, there was no one. This room flickered a little brighter, but the backdrops were so dark. The light, however, was much brighter in the main big top. The flickering of orange and red shone through the fabric, so light was not an issue. Parched as they were, the heat was suffocating. Charlie ranted in his head about the lack of air conditioner. He understood that the heat made the atmosphere better, but with such a hot night outside, it was just beyond horrible. Then again, if the power was off, what good would an air conditioner be? At best, it would have been a temporary relief. It would have taken longer for the heat to reach such levels of discomfort. The cool air could have circulated better, but what good did it do now to complain? Winifred crawled over to the floor where the dead lion tamer had once been. She had hoped for something helpful, but found nothing but a stool for the actor to sit upon. She flattened herself against the floor with a small whine. A startled scream then escaped when a splash of cold water poured over her. She rolled over just as Charlie spun around. You! He called out. Sure enough, it was the same man, the same Mr. Powers. Before he could say anything more, the man lifted Winifred and slung her over his shoulder. He then approached Charlie. You must follow me, Mr. Powers said through the mandible scarf. I'll get you out of here. Finally! At this point, Charlie didn't even care that it was Mr. Powers. He didn't care about anything other than the fact that they would be able to leave the ride. My friends are still trapped inside. Mr. Powers said nothing about that and hurried along to lead the boy to an exit and then outside. It wasn't as pretty as the front. It was smelly and by a dumpster. It didn't matter, though. They were outside, and even the warm breeze was a cool relief compared to the smothering heat inside. Mr. Power sat Winifred down on the grass and handed her a drink. It was so cool and refreshing. She guzzled it down with great delight. Another was offered to Charlie. What about my friends? He asked. They are fine, Mr. Powers replied, as he pulled the scarf and hood down to reveal his whole head. What the heck happened? Charlie asked. One minute we were enjoying the ride, the next everything stops and everyone disappears. There was quite a malfunction, Mr. Powers explained. It made such a mess. He looked over to Winifred and gave her a thoughtful smile as she tried to gulp from the empty cup. Well, it's over now. How about I treat you to some more drinks and some ice cream? You don't have to do that, Charlie said to him. But it would be really nice of you, Winifred finally chimed in. It brought out a few chuckles. Indeed, I'd be happy to do so. I'm not all bad. Why would you say something like that? Charlie asked. I can tell I've unfortunately made a bad impression on you two. Don't look alarmed. I'm afraid your reaction is a bit common for me. You know, Charlie began, you really were kind of scary. We thought going on the ride and seeing you there would make it less scary. It was my idea, Winifred exclaimed. Did it work? He asked. I guess so, Charlie replied. You are still strange, but you seem kind of nice. I suppose I am quite a sight, he chuckled. Come along. Let's get you hydrated and happy.